You've changed, and not entirely for the better, Bilbo Baggins.
Isn't it awful when you learn that your favorite foods have been changed? Nothing is worse than going to the store or a restaurant and learning that what you have been daydreaming about eating for so long has abruptly been changed. Here, we're going to talk about 10 foods they don't want you to know were changed.
No.
It's a family secret.
Subway's bread. One of the reasons why Subway is so popular is because of its bread. Well, that, and they have a plethora of vegetables that the average household doesn't have. Who has shredded lettuce, tomatoes, peppers, and black olives all in the refrigerator at the same time? If you do, then you probably live at a Subway.
Boy, if life were only like this.
Sometimes it's the toppings that make the sandwich, and those delicious dressings that they generously apply. And all you have to do is ask for them. Don't forget a shake or two of salt and pepper to round things out.
A little salt? Sure.
Subway at one time used a substance in their bread called azodicarbonamide. Don't worry, we don't know what that stuff is either. Some say it's an ingredient also found in yoga mats. None of us here are scientists. We are hungry people who will eat almost anything in front of us. But it does appear that the bread has changed over the years at Subway. Did you notice a change in their bread after they took out the stuff used to make yoga mats? Which of their fantastic cheeses pairs best with azodicarbonamide? That's a question no one will ever be able to answer again, since that stuff is long gone from their bread.
Fresh.
Kraft macaroni and cheese. No childhood is complete without a healthy dose of Kraft macaroni and cheese. It's the one food that all people like regardless of age.
More mac and cheese? Yeah, just keep it going.
You can be 8 or 80 and still love to see Kraft macaroni and cheese on your plate. It's one of the most iconic foods sold at the supermarket today. It's impossible to walk out of the store without at least one box of the bright yellow-colored pasta dish in your bag. These days, there are so many different varieties of Kraft macaroni and cheese and ways to prepare it. No longer do you have to stand over a hot stove and combine all of the ingredients, since they now have microwavable containers that only need to be nuked.
Here on the mainland, we just nuke it.
The key ingredients that gave Kraft macaroni and cheese its signature color has been changed, and nobody seemed to know. Kraft sold tens of millions of boxes of macaroni and cheese, and no one knew the difference. Why did Kraft change the orange color of their cheese sauce? The company wanted to change the ingredients to something that was all natural. Kraft knew its customers wanted natural flavors and colors, and that's why they changed their recipe without telling anyone about it.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
Who knows if anyone would have picked up on it if there hadn't been some eagle-eyed people who pay attention to the ingredient labels. Domino's Pizza.
We thank you so much for this bountiful harvest of Domino's.
Anyone who considers themselves a lover of Domino's knows that their pizza has gone through some changes within the past decade or so. Customers had begun to shy away from their favorite pizza joint when the quality was perceived to have gone downhill. Many people believed that Domino's pizza crust tasted like cardboard.
I know, it's bland.
Some also claimed that their tomato sauce tasted like ketchup. As anyone can imagine, no one in their right mind is going to pay for something that tastes like cardboard with ketchup on top of it. It was a big gamble for Domino's to change their recipe, but they knew it was something that had to be done. If they didn't change not only the flavor of the pizza, but also the perception of it, then customers wouldn't continue to buy pizza pies from their restaurant. Since their recipe change, Domino's is now one of the largest pizza chains in the entire world.
Now it tastes better.
Their gamble paid off, and so did lowering their prices to get people to try a product that was different than what they were once known for. Nutella. Nutella is a product with a global following. It doesn't matter if you eat it for breakfast or as a snack, Nutella is something that is held very close to those who can't get enough of it. Nutella can be eaten on just about anything, and even straight off the spoon.
You can have a finger scoop of Nutella.
How can anyone believe that something with such a devout and loyal customer base could ever not be satisfied? It seems the only way you can ruffle the feathers of those who love Nutella is by changing the product itself. It's almost impossible to conceive that someone would have such audacity to even think about changing the recipe. So how did Nutella change the recipe? The company added more sugar and skim milk to their product. Many loyal Nutella customers said they noticed a difference right away, while the company claimed that it was impossible to tell the difference between the old recipe and the new one. Their customers spoke out in a rage and flooded the internet with the type of language that only a true blue upset Nutella fan can muster. Every word that was tapped into smartphones and keyboards came directly from the heart, a heart whose arteries are deliciously clogged with Nutella.
If you put the Nutella into the microwave and heat it up, you can drink it with a straw.
Twinkies. If you find anyone who doesn't like Twinkies, then you might as well search for Bigfoot, because both would be hard to discover. Twinkies hit every possible pleasure zone an eater could ever want. There is the delicious sweet cake, the creamy white filling, and the uncontrollable desire to eat the entire box.
Twinkie, you don't need it. You don't need it, man.
The best combination is to pair a Twinkie with a fresh cup of coffee or even a tall glass of milk. Anyone who has ever been to the fair and ate a deep-fried Twinkie now knows what the definition of out of this world is. For a long 10 months beginning in late 2012, Twinkies were taken off the market due to bankruptcy issues.
I declare bankruptcy!
This was a time when many lost the will to live. Their reason to wake up every morning would be reinstated when Twinkies hit the shelves once again. Though everything wasn't what it once was when Twinkies were reintroduced to the snack cake eating public. They changed Twinkies in ways that most people found shocking. The product itself was smaller, had fewer calories, and even longer shelf life. Somehow, they were able to figure out a way to make Twinkies almost indestructible by the effects of time. How come no one noticed the changes when Twinkies came back onto the market? Probably because everyone was so ecstatic that they could finally buy Twinkies again that they were blinded by what was in front of them.
Bring me back the Twinkies!
It had been so long since Twinkies were on the shelves that many people forgot how big they were. Campbell's Chicken Noodle Soup.
Noodle soup! Damn it!
Chicken noodle soup is something that is probably in every American cupboard and kitchen. The soup itself is basic enough in that it only has noodles, broth, and small chunks of meat. No one makes chicken soup like Campbell's does, and that is probably one of the reasons why it is so famous. Campbell said that they changed the recipe by reducing the ingredients from 30 down to 20. Why the big move?
Why?
Campbell's claims that they are working to produce a product that is closer to what people make in their own kitchens. It doesn't seem to make too much sense considering most people don't make chicken soup with 20 ingredients in it. Then again, most people these days don't even make soup, so the only ingredient they need is a can opener, and that's it. Campbell's has since reformulated many of its soups to meet the demands of a public who is becoming increasingly skeptical of processed foods. McDonald's apple pie.
It was a McDonald's hot apple pie. They're not kidding. It was hot.
It's not possible to eat at McDonald's and not get dessert. Anyone alive several decades ago knows that McDonald's apple pies were different. They were much different than the apple pies that are being served today. It was a dark day back in the 90s when their apple pies went from being deep-fried to being baked. Those who weren't around during this time have no idea how delicious this deep-fried Mickey D's dessert can be.
It sure is.
Certainly does look delicious.
McDonald's has since changed the recipe for their apple pies once again. Those who consider themselves lost without the deep-fried, crispy sweet pies that their soul craves need not feel like they've forever lost the one thing they can't live without. McDonald's still deep fries their pies in several countries, including Russia. If you ever have the overwhelming desire for a blast from the apple pie past, then visit this country and savor the deep-fried deliciousness that your stomach pangs for.
You need to go to Russia.
New Coke. Coca-Cola is a product as much as it is a lifestyle. There are those of you who down countless can after can of cola every day of your life. If you aren't old enough to remember when they changed the formula of Coca-Cola and called it New Coke, then you should consider yourself lucky. In the 1980s, Coca-Cola was in a desperate fight against Pepsi to end the Cola War once and for all. Coca-Cola felt that a drastic change had to be made to face Pepsi head-on and to regain customers that they lost. It wasn't long after the introduction of New Coke that the company quickly heard the outcry from the public.
How do you even drink that?
Because it's delicious.
What?
No one could believe that a company could be so stupid as to change the formula of a product that was loved by millions upon millions of people all over the world. Some say this was all a hoax to make people drink Coca-Cola again. No matter what the process was behind it, it was a big mistake.
Big mistake. Huge.
And the Coca-Cola company quickly learned that the public had no desire to have their favorite product changed in any way. Following the outcry over New Coke, the company gave in to public pressure and brought back the original Coke and called it Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke was eventually completely discontinued, and without much fanfare, Coca-Cola Classic went back to being the everyday, ordinary Coke that we all know and love. McDonald's fries. If there is one thing to be learned from this list, it's that no one should ever mess with McDonald's. As much as some people like to trash talk McDonald's, it's the one restaurant that everyone secretly loves. It's hard to imagine anything not to love about the greasy, salty, cheesy goodness that McDonald's serves up every day. No one should ever consider changing the menu in the slightest. As we've seen with the apple pies, change is inevitable.
I am inevitable.
Even at the fast food restaurant that's in the DNA of every customer who eats there. Much like with the apple pies, the 90s were a dark and depressing time for lovers of the Golden Arches. Not only did they mess with your pies, but they did the one thing that was unspeakable. McDonald's changed the recipe of their fries, and many customers to this day claim that their fries aren't as good as they once were. Up until the 90s, McDonald's fries were cooked in beef tallow. What is beef tallow? Beef tallow is fat from cows, and it made McDonald's fries extra delicious.
Oh god, this is good.
Today, the company says that their fries, which are now cooked in vegetable oil, taste exactly the same as they did before the switch. The only people who believe that are the ones who never tasted these sticks of golden perfection before the change. We aren't saying that McDonald's fries aren't still so incredibly tasty that they should be considered a food group all of themselves. What we're saying is, just like many other items on this list, they were better back in the day.
The French fries are pretty good.
Breyers Ice Cream. Who can ever forget the famous commercials for Breyers Ice Cream that touted how few ingredients it had in it? All of those cute kids read the container while spouting out a couple of ingredients, and that's it. Those children were all talking about the ice cream that everyone back then knew and loved. So why did the good folks over at Breyers decide to change their recipe? Well, it's hard to say, but one thing is for sure, and that is customers were not happy. The big change is when they called the new product frozen dairy dessert instead of ice cream. It doesn't sound nearly as tasty as ice cream, does it? Outrage is what followed among those people who consider themselves ice cream connoisseurs. Who in their right mind wants to sit down to a bowl of frozen dairy dessert after a great meal?
No one.
If you had the choice between that and real ice cream, it seems the only difference is the amount of milk that is used in the frozen dairy dessert or ice cream. Ice cream needs to have more milk in it to be considered ice cream. The reason why they chose to call it by a different name is that they wanted to use less milk. The logic was, as the company claimed, to produce a creamier product.
Oh really? It's like that, sister?
But that doesn't make much sense considering it contained less milk. Stay right here and tap on another great video. Subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell.